So, as you can see, we are in the popularity ranking page in Duel Links once again, because this video I want to talk about the current meta in Duel Links, which consists of two tier 1 decks if you look in Duel Links meta at least. It is occupied by both Despia and Shaddoll. And today we're going to talk about both of these decks and what I think about them. So, first off, let's talk about Shaddolls. Shaddolls has been around for quite some time already, and yeah, I don't like this deck, not surprising. So if you don't know what Shaddolls do, this deck basically makes a Floodgate, which is a Winder. You don't actually see it in the popularity rankings, but you can probably find it in skills. And because the skill gives you the Winder. And Winder is one hell of a card. This card cannot be destroyed by opponent's card effects, and then your opponent can only, each player actually, it also locks yourself, each player can only spectral summon once during their turn. And if that doesn't seem bad enough, the thing that's annoying about Shaddolls is that it's about like how they make this card, right? This card is already annoying by itself, but like, okay, sure, I can like flip it face down with Book of Moon, right? I can get rid of it. It is a lot more difficult than that because, first of all, they can make this card during their opponent's turn. So, like, if you activate like a spell card to special summon, they can chain the Schism, and then they can resolve the chain backwards. They make this card, and then you resolve your spell to special summon a monster, and then you're just locked from special summoning for the rest of the turn. And then that is very, very annoying. Not only can they use Schism, they can also use El Shaddoll Fusion, which is a quick play fusion spell, and then it can't be destroyed by card effects, so you can't just it kind of limits the things that you can use to get rid of it. And then even if you have like a Book of Moon or Book of Eclipse, guess what? They have a silly little card called Shaddoll Incarnation, which they can have in the graveyard, that just flips it back face up, so it's really, really hard to get rid of. And because of how the Shaddoll deck functions, the deck is really, really good in a grind game. Same with Despia, but we're gonna get to that later. But yeah, they can revive the Winder again and again using cards like Shaddoll Incarnation's first effect. And then you just have to deal with it every single turn. They just get rid of it during their turn, and then they bring it back during your turn, and they will just annoy you again and again, even if you don't, even if you can't play through like one single Winder. And that's just the Winder. That's just the Winder part of the deck that we're talking about. There's so many other things that the deck does with all of their flip monsters. Their flip monsters have really good effects. Like, don't underestimate what the flip effects do. All of their flip effects are like really strong. Like Stormata has a really good graveyard effect, right? It dumps another Shaddoll card, but like its flip effect just destroys a monster, and they can like use it during their opponent's turn by flipping it up using a quick effect. So, yeah, Shaddolls have been around for probably longer than it should, right? It has been around for pretty much an entire year. Since like what, hero meta, it's already around, and it's still tier 1 to this day. Like, come on, man, it's like a deck like as unfun as Shaddoll probably shouldn't be in the meta for so long, at least not tier 1 strong, right? And the other thing about Shaddoll is how consistent it is, because I'm fine, okay, I'm not fine, but like, even if a deck has a Floodgate, sure, right, at least give them a weakness. Shaddoll, the weakness of Shaddolls without a skill is that the deck's not consistent, because you need, there's not really like a one card combo that gets to Winder, because all of the fusion stuff aren't a one card combo. I guess if you count Shaddoll Fusion, but Shaddoll Fusion only works if your opponent has a extra deck monster, and that means that you're going second, and that means Winder isn't very good because they already have a board. So, yeah, that's like the inherent weakness of Shaddoll, right? They need 2 or 3 cards to begin their play. They need like some amount of monsters and then the fusion spell. guess what? The skill just searches anything that you're missing. You just reveal 2 Shaddoll cards and then you just add a Shaddoll card from the deck to your hand. So no, you don't even brick with this deck. You just grab anything you need. And also, if you go second, you just get a guy for free because that's how all the skills work in these days. Just get a free guy. You know what? Because the deck is so strong going first, why don't we make it also good going second, right? So it's just like an annoying concept of a deck plus a skill that fixes all the problems that the deck has, which makes this deck like really annoying. And that's pretty much, that's not really a hot take. I feel like a lot of people share the same opinion about Shaddolls. I don't think a lot of people find it very fun. But let's talk about Despia. That's the main thing I want to talk about because Shaddolls have been around for quite some time already. I don't like Despia. Like, I really don't like Despia. Even in Master Duel or TCG, I really don't like Despia. I have been recently liking Branded a bit more because I've been playing the deck and understanding how the deck functions, at least in the TCG. But I'm not really a fan back when, Branded Fusion first came out. And people were still making like Mirror Jade and Tax Dragon. But that's not the point of this video. We're talking about deck and Duel Links. I don't look at deck and Duel Links because of obviously Tax Dragon and stuff like that. But this might be a hot take. I think Despia I like it more than some of the other tier 1 decks that we had in the past. Let me elaborate, right? So the biggest problem of Despia that I'm sure that a lot of people don't like about the deck is this card. Masquerade, the Blazing Dragon, which is just a ridiculous card that they decide to put in Duel Links, right? Your opponent must pay 600 life points to activate a card or effect. And because it's a payment and not a damage inflicted to your opponent, it did not get nerfed by Konami, because usually if they add a card that burns in Duel Links, they halve the amount because we only have half the amount of life points than in the TCG. But they did not do that with a Masquerade because it technically does not burn. So it is just twice as strong than it is in the TCG, which is ridiculous. And this card is just annoying. It's like you get 6 actions before you can't activate any effects. But the thing about this card, right, even though it's very broken, and I don't like this card, I hate this card, it is very, very outable compared to a lot of the other things, right? First of all, the first thing you need to realize if you haven't played this deck before is that this deck, this monster is not a Despia monster. And it is also not a fairy monster, which means it gets 0 protection from anything in this deck, aside from branded branded opening in the graveyard, which is just card effect protection. But so one of the biggest problem is the first Dark Lord. This guy gives everyone target protection, but it only gives it for fairies. Your opponent cannot target fairy monsters you control with card effects. Guess what? This card is not a fairy, so you can target this card with anything. Book of Moon, or even Book of Eclipse, Droplet, even Chalice, just anything. Just target this guy, it just gets disabled immediately. Second of all, it's not a Despia monster, so a card that they play is, let me just try to find it, Despian Comedy. This card says when your opponent targets a card that's a face-up Despia card, you can discard this card to negate it. But again, this card is not a Despia card, so you can just target it with anything, and your opponent can't stop it. It's just gonna be gone. And they can revive it, but this card only burns when it's fusion summoned. So even if you get rid of it, and then they reborn it with something, they don't get the burn. Like, it reborns itself, but you don't get the burn. So it's like really easy to get rid of this card. And also, it's not like a negate, right? This card is needs you to pay life points every time you use a card effect. So you can just do your normal combo and then just get rid of it over the course of your combo. And I know not every deck has the ability to out discard in only a few effect activations, but there are decks that can do it. And the number of decks that can do it only increases by the day because of going second skills that just allow you to just do something immediately when your opponent controls a monster. For example, the Red Dragon Archfiend deck has a skill that just sets Fiendish Chain. They just get to set Fiendish Chain immediately as like the first thing they do if they go second. And what you can do is just activate the Fiendish Chain, target the Masquerade, and then it's gone. It's just like, okay, I pay 600 to activate the Fiendish Chain, but after that, it's just negated forever. And there's not a lot they can do. So yeah, Masquerade is bad design to be imported to Duel Links with like the 600 life point payment not being nerfed, but it's very outable. It's like, a lot of people make it sound like that it's like the end of the world, but it's like, it is annoying. I hate this card, but like it is, you have to recognize the fact that it is a lot more outable than a lot of the other things. Like say, even an Ultimate Leo Utopia Ray with like an equip spell is more difficult to out than a Masquerade, for example. But we have to talk about the other thing that's very annoying in the deck, and arguably what is the true thing that makes a deck tier 1, and it's discard. The first Dark Lord is one hell of a boss monster that just so happens to work really, really well in the Despia deck. So discard is both a board wipe if you use Morningstar as material, and also protection. All of your fairies, which is all of your Despias are fairies, they can't be targeted, which makes them incredibly hard to out. This card has 4k attack and defense, so it is really large. And also, once per turn during the main phase, you just get to revive a fairy. So just infinite grind game as soon as this card hits the field. This card is arguably even more powerful than Masquerade, just because of how much this card enables. And yeah, this card is really hard to out. Some decks can out it because it's essentially just a target protection. I mean, if a target protected 4k guy was unoutable, then normal Dark Lords would see a lot of play. But yeah, a lot of decks can out an untargetable guy, but again, it's made a bit more annoying with the protection of Branded Opening. But even though this card is kind of hard to deal with once it's on the field, there are plenty of ways to actually counter this card without needing to deal with this card. Like, you can prevent them from making this card entirely. And that is especially true if you go second. Because the way that they make this card when they go first is they set a copy of Murder in red. And this card allows you to fusion summon. You add back a card from the graveyard and then you fusion summon as a quick effect. And you can then use the Morningstar from your hand to make the first Dark Lord and then be a board wipe. And a board wipe is obviously very good. However, Branded in Red is a card that can be countered by cards that remove stuff from the graveyard as a quick effect. And the biggest thing that people have been playing is DD Crow. DD Crow can, as a quick effect, discard itself and then banish a card from the graveyard. So you just target the thing that they target with Branded in Red, banish that card, and then the Branded in Red just resolves without effect. So they don't get to fusion summon the first Dark Lord, and then if you have a way to deal with the Masquerade, that's pretty much the end of the game. You just win pretty much. All they have left is pretty much just like the non-engine that they have, and maybe Dramaturge, but this card is not very good. You know what else is an out to this card? Let me just search it up. It's a very funny one, and it's a thing that you can theoretically play if you don't have DD Crow, because to be fair, it is an ultra rare. Have a look at this card. Where is it? It is a... you know what, let me just search it. Can't be bothered. There it is. Foolish Return. Let's see where you obtain this card. It's one hell of a card. It's you get it from like a really old box. You see, 2017. This card is very old, but this card says target one card in your opponent's graveyard, shuffle it back to the deck. But it is a quick play spell, which means if you go second, or if you go first, it's even better because you can just set it. If you go second, you have this in your hand. Your opponent tries to brand it in red. You chain this card from your hand, and then you just target the thing that they target. It's basically like DD Crow, but you can't use it during their turn if they go first. But otherwise, it's arguably even better than DD Crow. And that's pretty funny. There's like this random normal rare normal card that you can get from like a box from 2017 just out the best deck. And that's pretty funny. But I won't pretend that like the card isn't easy, it isn't hard to out. Like first Outlord is very annoying. And you do need to like draw some form of out to be able to out it. And not every deck is able to out it in Engine because target protection and occasionally destruction protection from branded opening is quite annoying, to be fair. But there are still plenty of ways to out it. And at least you're playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And that's like the entire point, right? For Shaddoll, it almost feels like that you're not playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Because Winda just hits the field and then you just can't do anything. It's kind of the same with Masquerade, but at least this card is a lot more easy to out, and like there are things that you can do to try to out it. You can do it within like 6 actions, so you're not like completely locked out of the game. There's still like gameplay you can do to be able to out this guy. So yeah, that's pretty much all I wanna. Oh, I guess let's talk about Dramaturge, because that's like technically part of the end board of Despia. This guy's like whatever. It's just like a free guy that you get on your field as part of your end board. You get to negate a monster on the field when your opponent makes an extra deck monster. So cool. Like this thing is so easy to play around that I don't think we should be talking about that card too much. Anyway, overall, final thoughts about this meta. I think this meta is not fantastic. Shaddoll is not a fun deck to play against. Despia is not a fun deck to play against. But, in my opinion, it could be worse. Like, there are worse metas than the meta that we are in right now. I think it is better than the Glue Hero meta, the Dragonic Contact meta, where everybody is playing exactly one deck and just super polying everything away. And it's also better than the Predaplant meta, because like Predaplant is like the blue ball deck, right? That's what I like to call the deck now. It's like that deck is like a definition of a blue ball deck. Like you set up a board, and then their turn starts, they get rid of your boss monster immediately without even setting a chain. Without even starting a chain, you can't stop it. It just happens, and then your guy's just gone. And then even if like you try to OTK them, they have like a searchable hand trap that stops you from OTKing. So it's like the biggest blue ball meta deck ever. And I'm so glad that that deck isn't around anymore. And also like Super Poly, they can play Super Poly. You can search Super Poly, not as well as the Hero deck, but they can still search Super Poly, and that's annoying. And also, Literalist meta is also insufferable. Literalist meta arguably plays even less Yu-Gi-Oh! Than Floodgates or Despia, because they just make an untargetable and an indestructible Xyz monster, and then they just punch you directly. Like, there's no interaction. They can make an interaction, but that's not like the main selling part of the deck. and like on some Blue Robin just like bounces everything. They just don't let you play Yu-Gi-Oh, and even if they do, they just make like an Xyz and then they like ignore everything you have and then just attack directly and win. Like that deck just does not aim to play Yu-Gi-Oh, and those monsters are just so annoying to out that you either just draw the out or you don't draw the out and they win. Like that is very annoying. So what I'm trying to say is that there are worse metas, I think, at least. The meta that we have like half a year ago is probably worse than what we have right now. I mean, we have 2 tier 1 decks, but I feel like the tier 2 and tier 3 decks aren't that far behind. They have ways to deal with the best decks in the game, and they can do it without really needing to like draw the out. A lot of decks have in-engine ways to deal with like Masquerade, for example. So yeah, there is a reason why I made like a video talking about how I'm not motivated to play Duel Links back when Heroes were meta, right? Yeah, that video got a lot of views, but I mean, if you complain about things every time, you're probably gonna get a lot of views because negativity gets views, and that's how it is. But I always like to at least try to have a little bit of a positive look at the current state. And truthfully, I think that we had it worse before, and today's meta isn't exactly amazing, but it's still we have been moving away from the insufferable like Kaiju meta or Super Poly meta that we had back like a half a year ago, and I think that and also we're kind of in a place where like 10 billion negates aren't as popular as when like Utopia were tier 1, for example. That deck is still around, Speedroids are still around, Gusto is still a thing. Those decks still make 10 billion negates, but at least those decks aren't like tier 1 anymore, and I think that's probably a good thing. And I would prefer like a deck like Despia, which allows you to play to out the guy, than like a deck that puts out like 4 negates and just doesn't let you play, and you have to draw Droplet or you die, right? Okay, that's it for me. Tell me what you think. I'm just like a guy yapping on the internet. What I say isn't necessarily true, that's just what I think, and I would like to see what you think, because I know that not everything I say might be correct. I might be missing something. So if you have something that you think I missed, or you have like your own opinions on things, I would like to see them, and that will I will read them, and then that might change my opinions if I agree with what you say. So yeah, thanks for watching and goodbye.